Hi, today we are going to paint a simple landscape. This is a miniature of the same. We'll try and modify it a bit, but this is the reference that we are going to paint today. For this we need brushes. You can have a round brush which is size 6 to 8. You should have a flat brush. This will help us use the technique wet on wet. We'll need some colors. We're going to use basic colors. I have this palette from Art Philosophy Tropicals, and I'm going to use mostly the light green, a little bit of dark green, yellow ochre, and blue. Let's wait for some more people to join in, and then we can get started. While we wait, if you don't have a tumbler of water handy, go grab it, and you might need tissue paper to dab your brushes regularly. And since we're going to make clouds, we'll need extra paper towels so that I can teach you another technique how to make clouds. And that's about it. In case you have any questions, you can I have activated the chat. You can ask, and I will look into it on a regular basis to help you out. So let's get started. So the first step is I'm going to divide my paper into half. So basically I'm going to divide it so that we're going to have this portion where we have sky and then we have land, so there's a horizon line. So I'm going to divide it. And make sure that you don't have it too dark, because if you have the lines dark, they'll show through your watercolors. So let me just do this. And probably we'll have some mountains. And I'm going to dab it so that it doesn't show through. Let's get started. So first we'll start with our flat brush. You have your flat brush, you dip it into water and have like a lot of water in it, and then start with spreading water. I hope your paper is a little thick, and do not use the printer paper because it'll tear through if you use wet on wet technique on it. Now after you wet it, you use, if you have a light blue shade, we call it cerulean blue. If you have that shade or a light blue shade, use that, and I'll show you how to use it. So if you see, I'm taking it right from the palette right now. I have it full in my brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and now I'm going to wet it and just have water in my brush, and then I'm going to spread it. You see this? It's already spreading by itself. And now, since the sky generally has no specific shape of clouds, what we're going to do is we're going to take a tissue, roll it, and then we're going to dab it here so that we get some clouds. And then go back with your brush and then just get rid of the dark lines, you know, if there are any. So if you find till here and everybody's painting along, can you put a thumbs up, or else if you want me to wait, I can wait. We need to let the sky dry before we start anything else on it. In the meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start my base. That's the land. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to wet. This is a wet on wet technique because you are painting on a wet paper. So I'm going to go ahead and wet the whole paper yet again. And then we're going to use yellow ochre. So this is the kind of yellow that I'm going to use, if you can see it. If you don't have this yellow, you can start with the, you know, lemon yellow or the light yellow that you have on the base, and mix it a bit with green. I'm going to change into my brown brush. So what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning my brush, wiping it off. I want to lift some color off this horizon line, because generally where the sky or the sun falls, the land is lighter. And just to show that effect, I want to kind of wipe off some yellow and have a gradient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my yellow and start back from the bottom, so that I have that gradient. And now we have to wait to have it dry up. I'm just going to try and see if this is dried up so that we can get started with the mountain. No, this is still wet. So what we're going to do is, if you look at this, what we're going to try and do is we're going to create these patches of bushes. So while this is wet, what you can do is also drop a little bit of same color or a little bit of a darker tone of green and yellow, if you have mixed that, and you know, create those kind of effects. So just drop that color to create that, you know, bushy effect, so that when we create the bushes, you know, it looks very natural and because you won't find a land which is really plain. Yeah, looks like my sky has dried up. Just check if yours has too. So just to check, you just dab your fingers over it and see if it has, and if it did have. So you have two options now. You can have a black mountain or a brown. So I'm gonna go for brown because my sky is well lit, and it looks like a good summer morning. So I don't think there'll be black mountains. It wouldn't probably, I just think that brown goes well with the color scheme. So I'm gonna do this, and I'm not gonna take too much color here. I'm just gonna take too much water just to so this is what happens when it's not dried and it bleeds through. You could quickly just dab your tissue or a paper towel and then get rid of that color which has bled through, but you got to be really careful. I'm going to wait till the land dries up, otherwise this is going to bleed through whole of my So meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to make bushes on a different sheet of paper. So while this dries up, let's go through this. So if you have a brush which is a small tip brush like this, you just take green or whichever color we prefer while doing it. So I'm going to just take green to show you how we're going to do the bushes or the grass fields. So you just go like this. So you see, this gives you the bushy effect. Don't need to be perfect, it could be in any direction. And if you don't have a thin brush like this, what I generally used to do earlier when I didn't have too many brushes, I used to dip it I used to spread it like this, and then I used to be like, so this is another technique that you could use if you don't have too many brushes, and if you think, you know, you want to get that kind of a feathered effect. Let's see if we have our paper dried up. Let's start and do the bushes. Or maybe start with, I'm not sure if it's dried up. Let's see. I'm going to start with the bushes here. This is still wet. I'm trying to give a little bit of depth to the mountains. If you move your brush sideways, just see how it looks. So while this dries up, let me look at the chat. Please let me know if you want me to wait or if there's something that you want me to repeat. So we've never seen a bush which doesn't have a shadow, right? So what I did earlier with yellow is I tried to create a shadow effect. Now I'm going to go and do a brown kind of a bush so that, you know, it doesn't look unnatural. So you just go about, you know, any place that you think makes it look pretty. Just add about a few strands here and there. It'll make your landscape come alive. And then we'll start with the tree. Sure, I'll wait. Yeah, Prachi, I love my bangles. I'm a little traditional that way. Sure. Is this better? Can you please give me a thumbs up when you want me to go ahead and start painting again? However, I'm waiting for the paper to dry though. Okay, I'm going to start with the tree now. So for the tree, if you have a light green, use that. And what we're going to do is, first we're going to start with the first decide how big the tree you want it to be. I want my tree to be here, right? So what I'm going to do is start with a yellow or a light green. Don't worry if it goes over your mountain, doesn't matter. So you see what I'm doing is I'm just dropping paint. If you want it to be a little closer. And once you're done with that light green, go for a little darker green. I'm going to show you the shade that I'm going to use on a sheet of paper. So the next green I'm going to go is this green. Do not have too much water on your tissue, on your brush. If you do have, you by mistake get it, dab it on your tissue or a paper towel so that you get rid of it. Otherwise this will, you know, really create a havoc here. So just, you know, drop on the light green around it. You know, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be very particular about a certain shape. Just enjoy the process. And if you've noticed that the light hits the tree on the top, so it's lighter there, and generally it's denser inside. So I'm going to go dark on the lower side. And that's about it. If you have a lemon yellow, I'd suggest you drop some bit of it on the top. It'll really pop up on your painting, just some places. And do this while it's still wet. If you wait till later, it won't give you that effect. It'll look blotchy then. And don't try to color everything, you know, because that's not how trees are generally. Like we were taught when we were kids, we don't draw like this, right? This is not how you draw a tree anymore. So don't do that coloring like this. Don't do that with the watercolors. So now what I'm going to do is, this is if you're comfortable doing it, you could go ahead and do it the way I'm doing it. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing a little, just if you have sap green, that's the light green. I'm going to show you the shade here. This is the green that I'm going for. Right, and with less water and more color. So what we are going to do is something like this. We're just going to, if you have the smaller tip brush, use that, or else, you know, just going to do is, I'm just going to do like this, like few leaves are coming out of the tree if you look at it, which looks very natural. I'm going to show it to you in this one. If you look at this painting, you see these small details on the outer side. That'll make it look more natural. So I'm going to do those. So be wary of the fact that there's some, you know, parts of the tree that are still wet on the paper. So just go about few places, not necessarily everywhere. And if you think you're too conscious, or you think you don't have the lighter brush, just splatter a little bit of paint over there. It'll give you the similar effect. I'm going to take out, see, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to take away all the paint. Just take a little bit of, point my tip. I'm not sure if you can see this. Yeah, just point your tip and then just go about here. Just like swirly lines. So they kind of give you a little bit of definition to your tree. And once you're done with that, let's go to the trunk. Oh. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a brown. So this is the brown that I have. This is the brown that I have, and I want a little darker shade, so I'm going to mix a little bit of blue to it, so I get this tone. If you mix a little blue, you get a darker tone. Now in proportion to your, it's going to bleed through, that's okay, only because you want your trunk, you want your tree to also have branches, right? So that's okay to bleed through. Don't be too worried about that. Just let it go. And then once you have the trunk done, to the base of it, okay, just move your brush with water so it blends through. While this dries up, I'm going to add a little more detail to my branches here. On the bottom, I'm going to do some green grass. I'm going to just try it on a different paper and see if it looks good. Yep. Let me know if you want me to wait again. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to add a little more texture to the ground, because you like I mentioned, right, you don't see a surface which is really plain and there's no stones or blotches or grass growing around, which is why I'm doing that. And then I'm going to now make my birds. So if you have a black color handy, looks like I forgot mine. So I'm going to make one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a lot of blue to this. Okay, this is the closest to black that I can get right now. We're going to make birds. Now, for birds, you know, we've all our life drawn birds like this. I'm just going to show you right now. You've always drawn birds like this, right? But when you see them flying, these are the wings. Where is the bird, right? Essentially. So if you just add a bit of, you know, this, see how beautiful it looks. It just changes the whole thing about the bird. So you could do that, or you could do, you know, just a full flying bird like this, and then just have a tip here. You see this? And then if you want an upward bird, you could do this, have a bird in the middle. Just having that center head makes a whole difference in the bird. So try that. See if you can try it. Let me know if you need me to demonstrate it once more. Not difficult, right? But on the far, you can definitely do the inverted 3 that we've been doing all our lives. But I just kind of feel this gives it a more definition, more, you know, just a little bit of detail. I'm gonna go back in here because my paper was dry. I couldn't add details on my mountains. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna just do this. First I'm gonna wet the, so okay, when your paper dries up and you want to go add details back to it, what you do is you first wet it with water. I'm going to just wet the part where I want to add more details. This is because I'm going to do a wet on wet technique. I did that. Okay, now I'm going to go back with my color. I'm going to put color there. And now we're gonna wait for it to dry. We're pretty much done. There are little finer details that we need to add, but let's wait for it to dry. So while it's drying, I'm going to show you something else. If you have a jelly roll pen like this one, we're going to add some highlights to the grass where the light hits the grass. I'm going to just do this. See if you see that. Maybe it's still wet, which is why it doesn't show so well. Use a thicker tip. that's about it for today. And I'm going to take out my tape and see how it turned out. I'm going to be a little careful with the tape because it can rip up my paper. So hang on. This is tricky. So yeah, that's the artwork of the day. How do you like it? I hope you enjoyed painting with me. If there's anything else that you would like to paint along, let me know in the comments and we'll come live more often. This was fun. I'm going to hang around if you have any questions, and if you want me to do something, just go over some other details, or if you want to see some technique, you can go ahead and add more birds if you would like. But I'm happy with the way this has turned out. So what kind of flowers would you like to learn? Would you want to do something detailed like this? Or would you want to learn something like loose florals? So I have something here handy with me. Well, let me put this away so that I can show you. Hang on. Would you like to do something like this, a loose floral kind of a theme, or is there something like this that you'd like to learn? Or more detailed work? There's another thing I would like to tell you. I never wipe my watercolor palette. You know, if the colors are like this mixed up, I let them be. I don't kind of clean it because they activate the moment you add water. And you know, this shade that I have come up with, I kind of like it. And this turquoise. So you know, these colors, while you're mixing, and playing with it, they turn out to be something that you really enjoy using. So don't clean your palette all the time if you're going to paint very soon and you don't want to kind of pack it up. I'm going to sign off. Thank you all for joining in. I love painting along. Bye. If you'd like to join lives, I'm planning to do a live more often, and most likely on a Thursday night like today. So if you subscribe to my channel, you'll be notified with the next live as soon as I schedule one. And I'm going to be dropping a video once in a while. So if there is something that you'd like to learn, please drop in a comment and let me know. That'll be really helpful. Bye. Good night. I'll be around chatting, but I'm going to turn off the video for now and turn off the live.